There's a version of you that terrifies you. Not because it's evil. Not because it's cruel. Because it demands you become someone you've been avoiding. Someone who says no without guilt, acts without permission, demands respect without apologizing, takes what's theirs without hesitation. Society taught you to fear this version. Today you stop running and you become it. From birth you were programmed. The message is: be nice, don't assert yourself. Share everything, don't protect your resources. Don't be selfish, put everyone before yourself. Play fair, don't use strategic advantage. Wait your turn, don't seize opportunity. Don't make people uncomfortable, sacrifice your needs for others' comfort. These weren't lessons in morality. They were training you to be controllable. And the person you're afraid to become, that person breaks every one of these rules. 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli wrote the manual. Not how power should work. How it does work. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that many have imagined republics and principalities which have never been seen or known to exist in reality. For how we live is so far removed from how we ought to live that he who abandons what is done for what ought to be done will rather bring about his own ruin than his preservation. Translation: the world rewards what works, not what's nice. And the person you're afraid to become, that person understands this. The first pillar of transformation is decisive action over endless deliberation. The old you overthinks every decision, waits for perfect conditions, seeks consensus before acting, fears making the wrong choice. Result: paralysis, missed opportunities, regret. The person you're afraid to become decides quickly with available information, acts before conditions are perfect, doesn't need permission or consensus, knows that wrong action beats no action. Machiavelli wrote one should never allow chaos to develop in order to avoid going to war, because one does not avoid a war but instead puts it off to their disadvantage. Translation: hesitation doesn't avoid problems, it makes them worse. The 72-hour rule. Identify decision needed. Gather available information, don't wait for perfect information. Decide within 72 hours maximum. Act immediately on decision. Adjust course if needed but move forward. The person you're afraid to become doesn't wait for certainty. They create it through action. The second pillar is ruthless boundaries. The old you says yes when you mean no, tolerates disrespect to keep the peace, lets others dictate your time, fears being seen as difficult, apologizes for having needs. Result: exhaustion, resentment, being taken for granted. The person you're afraid to become says no without guilt or explanation, enforces consequences for boundary violations, protects time ruthlessly, doesn't care about being seen as difficult, never apologizes for self-protection. Machiavelli wrote it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But the deeper truth is fear comes from predictable consequences. When people know crossing you has consequences, your boundaries are non-negotiable, you will enforce them without emotion, they stop testing and they start respecting. The 3-strike system. Strike 1, clear statement. I don't do that. No explanation. No negotiation. Clear, final. Strike 2, warning. I told you I don't do that. If this happens again, consequence. Still calm, still clear. Strike 3, enforcement. Execute the consequence. No anger, no drama, just action. Boundary violation equals consequence, always. The person you're afraid to become doesn't negotiate boundaries. They enforce them. The third pillar is stop seeking permission. The old you waits for others' approval before acting, seeks validation for every decision, needs consensus to feel secure, asks permission from people who have no authority over you. Why you do this? You're still operating from a childhood program. Child asks parent, can I? Parent approves or denies. Pattern reinforced for 18+ years. Problem. You're an adult but you still seek permission like a child. The person you're afraid to become doesn't ask permission, doesn't seek approval, doesn't need validation, operates from self-authority. Machiavelli wrote armed prophets have conquered while unarmed ones have failed. Translation. Those who act with authority succeed, those who wait for permission fail. The distinction. Seeking input is strategic. I'm thinking of doing this, what's your perspective? You're gathering information, decision remains yours. Seeking permission is weak. Is it okay if I do this? You're asking for approval, decision given to them. Eliminating permission seeking. Notice when you ask permission. Catch the pattern. Ask, do they actually have authority over this? Usually, no. Reframe to information gathering. Instead of can I leave early Friday, say I'm leaving early Friday, I'll make sure this is covered. State, don't ask. Own your decisions. Make them, act on them, deal with consequences, stop outsourcing decision-making. The person you're afraid to become doesn't ask if they can. They decide that they will. The fourth pillar is strategic silence. The old you over-explains every decision, justifies your choices to everyone, fills uncomfortable silences, feels compelled to make others understand. Result: the person you're afraid to become speaks less, explains even less, lets silence sit, understands that mystery is power. Machiavelli wrote, everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Translation: your perceived power comes from what they don't know, not what they do. When you explain everything, you're predictable, you're seeking approval, you're giving ammunition, you're signaling insecurity. When you say less, you're unpredictable, you're secure, you give nothing away, you appear confident. The 10-word rule. For the next 30 days, answer in 10 words or less whenever possible, no explanations unless explicitly required, let others fill the silence, observe the power shift. Before, I can't make it tonight because I have this project I'm working on and I'm really behind and I need to catch up and honestly I'm just exhausted. After, I can't make it tonight. Silence. The person you're afraid to become knows the less you say, the more weight your words carry. The fifth pillar is make one visible move. The problem with internal change is you can read all the books, do all the inner work, build all the discipline, transform completely internally, but if no one sees it they still treat you the old way. Machiavelli wrote, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Translation: people respond to what they see, not what they feel. The person you're afraid to become understands you need one visible move that demonstrates the transformation. Examples: professional, quitting job publicly after securing better position, refusing unreasonable request in front of others, walking out of disrespectful meeting, demanding raise or promotion or leaving. Personal, ending toxic relationship decisively, setting public boundary with family member, refusing to attend obligatory event, cutting off someone who crossed you. Social, calling out disrespect publicly, leaving friend group that diminishes you, standing up to bully or manipulator, choosing yourself over group approval. The effect: before, treated as pushover, nice person, easily manipulated. After, treated with caution, respect, seriousness. Why it works: one action greater than 1,000 words. Visible demonstration greater than internal growth. Public consequence greater than private boundary. People believe what they see. Identifying your move. Where are you most disrespected? What boundary violation happens repeatedly? What would the person you're afraid to become do? Do that. Publicly. Once. The person you're afraid to become doesn't just change privately. They demonstrate it publicly, once, decisively. And everyone gets the message. The sixth pillar is unapologetic self-interest. The old you puts everyone else first, sacrifices constantly, feels guilty for having needs, believes self-interest is selfish. Result: depletion, resentment, being taken for granted. The person you're afraid to become puts their needs first, sacrifices strategically not constantly, has zero guilt for self-protection, knows self-interest is survival. Machiavelli wrote, whoever believes that great advancement and new benefits make men forget old injuries is mistaken. Translation: sacrifice doesn't create loyalty, it creates entitlement. When you sacrifice constantly, people expect it, they don't appreciate it, they take more, you build resentment. When you protect your interests, people respect you, they don't expect free sacrifice, they value what you do give, you build sustainable relationships. The self-interest audit. Weekly ask, what did I sacrifice this week? Was it strategic or automatic? Did it serve my goals or someone else's at my expense? Rule: if it doesn't serve you, stop doing it. The person you're afraid to become protects their interests first. Not from cruelty. From wisdom. When you implement all 6 pillars, something shifts inside you. Transformation 1. Guilt disappears. No more guilt for protecting yourself, having standards, choosing yourself. You realize the guilt was programming, not truth. Transformation 2. Fear becomes excitement. Conflict feels strategic. Rejection feels like filtering. Being too much feels like authenticity. Your power feels natural. You realize the fear was protecting weakness. You're no longer weak. Unmoved by others' opinions. Authentic regardless of reaction. Self-validated. You realize their opinions don't change your value. Nothing does. Transformation 4. Respect becomes automatic. Respect is automatic. People self-regulate around you. Disrespect is rare. Your presence demands it. You realize respect follows self-respect, always. Transformation 5. You become the person you feared. You are too much for the wrong people. You are powerful and comfortable with it. Some people don't like you and that's perfect. You are completely yourself. You realize the person you feared becoming was who you always were. You just had permission now. But understand this. This transformation has costs. Cost 1. Some people will leave. People who benefited from your weakness will leave. Those who needed you small will resent you large. Relationships built on your compliance will end. This is not a bug. It's a feature. Cost 2. You cannot go back. Once you've tasted sovereignty, submission becomes unbearable. Once you've felt respect, disrespect becomes intolerable. Once you've become yourself, pretending becomes impossible. You cannot unsee what you've seen. Cost 3. You will be misunderstood. Some will call you selfish, they meant subservient. Some will call you cold, they meant boundaried. Some will call you arrogant, they meant confident. Their interpretation is not your problem. Cost 4. Loneliness before belonging. You'll likely go through a period alone. Old connections don't fit anymore. New connections haven't formed yet. Temporary isolation is part of the process. But the loneliness is temporary. The belonging that comes after is real. Machiavelli wrote, there is nothing more difficult to carry out nor more doubtful of success nor more dangerous to handle than to initiate a new order of things. Translation. Transformation is the hardest thing you'll ever do. But the cost of not transforming? Spending your entire life as someone you're not. You're back at the crossroads. 2 versions of you. One you know. One you fear. The current you is safe, predictable, likable, comfortable, small. The person you're afraid to become is dangerous, unpredictable, respected but not universally liked, uncomfortable, powerful. The question is not should I become this person. The question is can I live with myself if I don't? Machiavelli wrote, a man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what? The world punishes those who refuse to claim their power. Being nice doesn't protect you. Being powerful does. The person you're afraid to become is not your enemy. They're your liberation. They're who you are when you stop apologizing for existing, when you stop seeking permission to be yourself, when you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You've been running from yourself. Today you stop. Become the person you're afraid to become. Because that person, that's who you actually are. The person you fear becoming is the person you were meant to be. Stop running. Start becoming. Stop running. Start becoming.